for watching this pre-camp informational webinar and video to cover some of the details headed into the Northeast Session 1 Headfirst Softball Showcase Camp in Yaphank, New York. In this video, we'll do some brief introductions, and then we'll also talk about how to prepare for camp in terms of schedule and logistics, and also from a recruiting standpoint, and how to approach your on-site engagement with college coaches. First up, some introductions. First is Jenna Orlando. Jenna is the Director of Operations for Headfirst Companies, who just celebrated her 7th anniversary here at the company. She played her college softball at Lafayette College, where she graduated in 2017 after being a 4-year starter for the Leopards, 2-time Patriot League academic honor roll, and was a team captain her senior year. Brendan Sullivan. Brendan is the founder and president of the Headfirst Companies. A DC native, Brendan attended his college and played college baseball at Stanford University, where he graduated after 3 years in 1996. He was drafted by the San Diego Padres and played up to AAA in their organization and started Headfirst in the offseason between his professional career. Caitlin Elwanger. Caitlin is the Senior Associate for Program Operations for the Showcase Division at the Headfirst Companies. Caitlin played her college softball at Denison University, where she played all 4 years and was a 3-year team captain and a 3-year NFCA All-Academic American. And a face and name that might be familiar to some of you, Michael Rothstein. Michael is a business development fellow here at the Headfirst Companies and one of our main touch points for customers and families headed into events. Mike attended Florida Southern College, where he graduated with a BS in History and Social Science and played baseball there. And he is currently pursuing his master's in Sports Business Management at NYU. Next up, preparing for camp from a schedule and logistics standpoint. So first, some brief details about the camp. We are going to be hosting the Northeast Session 1 at Lasorda Legacy Park, which is in Yaphank, New York. It will be on July 9th and 10th, and check-in on day 1 will start at 7 a.m. You see here an overview of Lasorda Legacy Park right there on Sills Road. We will be conducting this camp over on the softball side, over where that check-in will take place over towards at the other end of the parking lot. And we'll be conducting camp programming over at the left side of the screen on the softball side of the facility. On day 1 arrival, we do ask for the check-in that players only head through the check-in line. Parents, you can head directly to the all-camp meeting area, where we will have Headfirst staff waiting for you, and we'll kind of show you the direction. In the run-up to camp, there are a few pre-camp action items that can be found in the pre-camp email. One of the key ones being to download the Headfirst on-site app, which is where we'll be conducting all of the messaging before and at camp with things like schedule updates and team assignments and everything else that we need to push out to families while we're there on July 9th and 10th. Field access and seating. Parents are certainly more than welcome and encouraged to stick around and watch all of the softball action over the course of the 2 days. There is seating available on all of the fields, and parents also may bring their own chairs. During parts of the showcase morning, there are some indoor components that we will ask parents not to be in attendance for. We will ask players and coaches only to be in the indoor facility. This is really just to make sure that we have enough space in that indoor facility. Otherwise, parents are certainly more than welcome to attend, to watch all the softball, and there will be some dedicated parts programming specifically for parents over the course of the 2 days as well. Now, in terms of the 2-day schedule, on day 1, we will begin with an all-camp meeting. After all the players check in, we'll do an all-camp meeting to talk a little bit about what to expect over the 2 days and give players kind of an intro into what they'll be looking at, especially for that first showcase morning. After that, the players will go off to stretch and start to get ready for the softball action, and there will be a parents-only meeting to follow, led by Brendan, and get all your questions answered that morning. After that, we will head into the defensive showcase portion. We will group players by their defensive showcase position, and we will take them through a rotation that includes getting them ready and loose and ready to perform on the showcase field, which is where all of the coaches will be. And then they'll also take them through that showcase portion, as well as through some objective measurements like home to first time, home to home, and overhand throwing velocity. After the defensive showcase concludes, we will head directly into the offensive showcase. Players will stay with those same groups as they were in for the defensive showcase. And once again, we'll work through a rotation, including showcase VP in front of all of the college coaches, as well as a few other stations to get ready and loose, and then some additional objective measurements, namely the batted ball velocity that we'll take off of the tee during that rotation. In the afternoon and evening of day one, we will head into the simulated games, which will take up the rest of day one and the bulk of day two as well. Players will be assigned to teams and will play one game on day one and 2 games on day two. These teams will be communicated once we're on site via that Headfirst on-site app at some point during the offensive showcase. A few notes about the simulated games. The rules are a little bit different because the games are designed to facilitate action and maximize opportunities. So, for example, the batting order runs continuously. There isn't a traditional leadoff hitter, cleanup hitter, etc. We will continue the games on day two, picking up the batting order where it ended for each team on day one to ensure maximum and equal at-bats over the course of the gameplay. We also balance the teams purely by positions. So we will balance the teams by primary and secondary positions to ensure equal and maximum playing time across each team. So if one team doesn't have 4 middle infielders and another has 2, we'll do our best to balance those teams, which is why we don't assign them until that day of to account for all of the players that are on site with us. A few other rules for the simulated games. We also will start with 1-1 counts, and we'll play with 0 outs at all times. There won't be 3 outs and the inning is over. Again, to facilitate action, encourage strike throwing, and encourage putting the ball in play. In addition, on day one, there will be a coach-led positional practice. Players will break up by their position. They can choose to go with whatever positional group they desire, and they will go and coach. The college coaches will lead a positional practice. So middle infielders will go with a group of coaches and work on some skills and drills, catchers, pitchers, outfielders, etc. This is a great chance to get some great instruction and feedback from college coaches, and also to start to introduce yourself to coaches and get a sense for how they are on the field, how they are in a coach, as a coach, so you can really start to get to know them and facilitate that direct engagement. On day two, players' arrival will depend on their team assignment, and we will head directly into the simulated games. We will post, again, in the on-site app, the arrival details for each set of games and for each player, so stay tuned for that once we're on site, because it does depend on your team assignment when day two will start up for you. Upon arrival, players will get loose, and then we'll head directly into their games. Each team will play in 2 games on that second day, and there is some additional programming as well, including a dedicated coach connection period where players have the opportunity to meet coaches face-to-face, shake their hands, put a face to a name, and really facilitate that direct engagement, have those conversations that can really help get to know a coach, have coaches get to know the player, and advance their recruiting. There won't be any additional meetings after each team's second game. So after your game ends, you are free to head off site and whatever it is that's next in your recruiting road, whether it's a tournament or another showcase, or you're headed off for travel. So in addition to the 2 simulated games, there'll be the coach connection period, and then you are free to get off site. Camp will end on day 2 by 5:30 p.m. Some equipment notes. Lasorda Legacy Park is an all-turf facility, so metal spikes are not permitted. Players should plan on wearing rubber cleats, turf shoes, or sneakers for all camp programming. There also is some programming that will take place in the indoor facility there. So again, please bring and wear turf shoes, sneakers, or rubber cleats for all camp programming while we're there at Lasorda. To eliminate sharing of equipment, we will not provide helmets. We do have some that are available to use for in case players don't have their own, but we ask that players bring their own helmets and bats, and all bats that are used at camp must meet current high school regulations. And next up, let's talk about preparing for camp from a recruiting and engagement and a coach conversation perspective. So a few kind of preface notes. First, you have been getting, since you registered, you've been getting some things that we call the recruiting roadmap that talk about how to approach your recruiting process. It includes tips on doing research on your college programs, how to communicate with college coaches, what to expect at camp. And so if you haven't taken a look at those, I would strongly advise that you go back and revisit some of that recruiting roadmap content. has some excellent advice, some grade-specific content and insights, especially around recruiting strategies, academic readiness, and then wellness and performance as well. Those hit your inbox every Thursday afternoon. So if you haven't seen them, take a look at the most recent one, and it will link back to the previous content, so you can go back and revisit any parts that seem interesting or that you want a reminder of before you head to camp. When it comes to preparing for engaging with coaches at camp, we like to separate it into 3 phases. There's before camp, there's at camp, and then there's after camp. So before camp, between now and when you arrive in Yakine, the 2 key things to be doing are researching the school list and building out the list of schools that will be on site that you as a player have interest in, and starting to research those programs. What was their record? What majors do they offer? Where are they? Get familiar with the school so that you have some talking points when you meet these coaches. In addition to that, once you identify some of these schools that are interesting and that are potentially good fits for you at the college level, you want to do some email outreach to those coaches. And this should be personalized. It should be targeted. It should not be a BCC or a mass email to all the coaches in attendance, but it should be personalized and targeted to the schools that you are interested in, introducing yourself, sending along your transcript, some video, and hey, coach, I'm really looking forward to seeing you at the Headfirst showcase on Long Island. Really excited to meet you and shake your hand and put a face to a name. So that email outreach leading into camp is really important and can help set the stage for your at camp conversation. Once you're at camp, that first bullet is key. It's time to engage, engage, engage. There's a lot of really good opportunity at camp to engage directly with these college coaches, and we certainly encourage student athletes to take full advantage while they're there with us. This happens during that coach-led practice and during that coach connection period, which are kind of more dedicated components of camp that really help facilitate that direct conversation and that direct engagement between college coaches and student athletes. But there's also a lot of time during the games and around camp as well. So during the games, coaches are in the dugout, they're on the field with you, they're coaching the teams. You have a different coach group that's assigned to your field for each of your game slots. And so you have a lot of time in the dugout to get feedback, have conversations, get some great coaching tips from these really great college coaches. And it's really key to take advantage of that. This in-person conversation phase of recruiting is super, super important. Coaches obviously and absolutely want to see you play, and they want to assess you as a player. They also want to get to know you as a student athlete. And that's where some of this in-person and direct engagement can really help you advance your recruiting process. Now, we know that for some student athletes, the thought of walking up to their target, their dream school, the coach at their dream school, and introducing themselves will be more terrifying than facing someone in the circle throwing 75. So there's a lot of Headfirst camp programming and support that can really help facilitate this engagement. As I mentioned, during that coach connection period, you have this dedicated programming that can really help make those introductions. Also, you have that time during the games. And what we found is that during the games, it oftentimes can be more comfortable for student athletes to start conversations because it really gives you the chance to start those conversations around the game of softball that you have in common with these coaches. It, for a lot of players, can be less intimidating to walk up to a coach and say, hey, coach, how do you teach two-strike hitting approach in your program? Or that ball down the right field line kind of threw us for a loop. How do you coach double cuts in your program? And starting those conversations around the game of softball can sometimes be more comfortable and easier for student athletes than walking right in and saying, hey, coach, I'm really interested in your school and would love to talk to you about your program. In addition to the camp programming angle and aspects of camp that help facilitate that engagement, Headfirst is here to help. So our team is on site and has a lot of experience helping student athletes start and continue and broach some of these conversations. So if at any point you need help finding a coach or don't know what to say to a coach or whatever the case may be, someone in a Headfirst jersey is there to help. So please feel free to ask for help and support in finding coaches, starting those conversations, workshopping some of your talking points, whatever it might be, we're there to help. And then a really important facet of this is the post-camp follow-up. So after camp, it is absolutely crucial that you follow up via email, text, phone call, DM, whatever the channel or the medium that you have going on with these coaches, you follow up with the coaches that you connected with on site. This can be a simple thank you. This can be continuing a recruiting conversation. It can be a natural outgrowth from those at camp conversations, but it's really, really important that you do follow up with these coaches to continue some of these conversations that you started before an at camp. You see here just a sample of the 35 plus schools that will be in attendance in Yaphank. And this list is really meant to highlight the wide variety of different programs that are attending. This list of 35 to 40 schools that will be in attendance represent small schools, big schools, schools in the city, schools that are rural, schools that are suburban, schools in the Northeast, schools in the West Coast, schools from all over the country, engineering programs, liberal arts schools. And really what that's meant to do is help you as a student athlete identify and find college programs that could be the right fit for you at the next level. One note on these at-camp conversations. So the NCAA does have some rules regarding what sorts of conversations coaches can have, Division I college coaches can have with student athletes when they are there on site. So to help with this, the class of 2025, so rising seniors, they are eligible to have in-person, what are called, quote unquote, recruiting specific conversations with D1 college coaches. And so 2025 grads will wear a black wristband, which we will give to you at camp check-in, as a visual indicator of their grad year for coaches. This means that as a class of 2025, you can go up and talk to the Columbia coach about what your admissions process looks like, what your next steps are with their application, recruiting, etc. You can have these recruiting specific conversations with coaches. And so this wristband is meant to be a visual marker so that coaches know when 2025 walks up to them that they can have this sort of conversation. For class of 2026 and younger, meaning rising juniors, sophomores, freshmen, this absolutely does not mean that you cannot have at-camp conversations. You absolutely can have at-camp conversations. It means that you cannot have these sorts of quote unquote recruiting specific conversations with Division I coaches. So if you're a class of 2026 or 2027, you cannot walk up to the Columbia coach and say, hey coach, I'm interested in your program and I would love to talk about my admission, or, can I get an academic pre-read? Can you help me with admission? Those conversations need to wait until August 1st, headed into your junior year. And so you have another month or so to wait if you're a 2026 and a year plus to wait if you're a 2027. However, you absolutely can and should have at-camp conversations. They just need to be a little bit more general. What I would advise is that you start them around introducing yourself, getting some feedback on your play, getting some on-field instruction, some game development, how to improve, how to get better as a player. And then you also can speak in more general terms with these coaches about their programs. You can say, hey coach, I'm really interested in your program because of 1, 2, and 3 reasons. I'm curious if anybody on your team has a major of X, because that's what I'm kind of thinking about. You can have general conversations about their program and about their school. They just can't, make you an offer of a scholarship or a roster spot for these D1 schools. For a hotel partner, we work with Book Your Block with a state of play policy. So you can reach out directly to Book Your Block to get your hotel. We use Book Your Block so that we can secure hotel partners that are close to the venue and that have the best available rates for families that are attending our camps as well. So to learn more and to book your hotel, you can go to the Headfirst website, and then up in the top right corner, click on the Enrolled Athletes tab, and then Travel Planning Softball from the drop-down menu, and that will take you to the information about the hotels available in Yaphank. You can submit a hotel booking exemption request if you live close to the venue or you have family close to the venue or whatever the case may be. If you do not need a hotel or have separate accommodations, you can reach out for a booking exemption request by emailing guestdocs@bookyourblock.com. The Headfirst mobile app. So I mentioned this earlier, but we will ask, and there will be details in the pre-camp email itself about how to do this. But we do ask that before you get to site or while you're there, it's really important that you download the Headfirst on-site app, as it's where we'll be pushing out all of our at-camp communication, team assignments, schedule updates, etc. So to find it, you can go to the App Store, search Headfirst Honor Roll, download that app, and then in the app, you're going to click Find Guide, and then you're going to click Enter Passphrase. And the Northeast Session passphrase is 2024 SBNY1, and that will get you into the right spot where you'll be getting all the updates for the Northeast session. Video partner. Some of you have probably already purchased the Real Play package, so some more information about this for those of you that are interested in learning more. We work with Real Play to provide video that's available for purchase from camp. Their Real Play package includes the defensive and offensive showcase, as well as all live gameplay captured from multiple camera angles. What they do then is they compile all this video that is tagged to each individual player, and they edit it down into clips for you within 10 days of camp. And this is the perfect sort of video that you can add to your sports recruits profile, push out through your Twitter account, etc. You can add to whatever highlight reels you have. If you would like to purchase Real Play video package and you haven't already, you can email showcase@headfirst.com to get more information, or you can also click on the link in the pre-camp email to purchase that video package directly through Real Play as well. This is certainly not your only, first, or last opportunity to get your questions answered as well. So if you still have questions about camp, how to best prepare, what to expect, please feel free to reach out to us. Send us an email at showcase@headfirstcamps.com or call us at 202-715-6654. One more plug for the recruiting roadmap. Check your email to revisit some of those modules that are super helpful, especially some key ones about tips on enhancing your college coach communication in the run-up to camp. Again, reaching out to college coaches ahead of time is crucial. And so this provides some really good tips and tricks on how to best facilitate your emails to college coaches, that they're getting through to coaches, they're personalized, all these things that can set you up for success in your coach communication. Thank you all for watching this video, and we look forward to seeing you on site for Northeast Session 1.